fruitfulness, branches. You could say that. What else?
I made one up. Feast fever.
No, well, we're talking about the themes of Sukkot.
Oh.
What are the themes of Sukkot? We have 3.
Shelter.
Shelter, we said that, like covering, shelter.
Resurrection?
No, that's
Marriage.
Rosh Hashanah.
Marriage?
No, that's Rosh Hashanah.
The ingathering.
Ingathering, yes. Doug said that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, here's the main ones. These are the main ones. Feast, water, and light. Those are the 3 main themes of Sukkot.
The great light.
Water and light.
Water and light. We're not going to talk about water, we're not going to talk about light, but we're going to talk about feast. We're going to talk about the #1 main theme of the festival. We're basically starting at scratch. We're starting at kindergarten. So the kindergarten one is the feast. So I'm going to read you something very weird. I say this very, very sarcastically. We gon' chomp on gator in the kingdom, by God. I'm being very sarcastic. But when I read this, you're going to go, sounds like we're going to chomp on gator.
Are you talking about kosher kid?
When you finally break the sukkah down, store the material for next year's festival with the understanding and hope that you may not need it again. For if the Messiah comes before next Sukkot, we will sit together under the sukkah of Shalom and partake of the great feast of Leviathan.
That's why we say next year in Jerusalem.
Now, that is a direct quote from, it's called the Jewish Catalog, old book from the 70s, but all they did was take all the doctrines that have been taught for 2,000 years, 3,000 years, and summarize them, distill it down into this. Under the sukkah of Shalom and partake of the great feast of Leviathan. Sounds weird, doesn't it?
Really?
The feast of Leviathan.
Here's another one.
Yeah,
Here's another one. According to legend, and when I say legend, when in Judaism, when it says legend, that means midrashim stories or Talmud stories. It doesn't mean legend like something made up. According to legend, God will make a sukkah.
God will make a sukkah.
Out of, what do you think it
Alligator
says?
skin.
Oh, gator skin?
Out of the body of Leviathan.
Oh.
At the end of days, and will place the righteous there. The Leviathan is a mythical beast of enormous dimensions who will be killed by God at the end of days.
So supposedly the Leviathan is not kosher.
It's Satan.
All right, sounds weird though, doesn't it? God's going to take the skin of Leviathan and make a sukkah out of it.
No, in that first part, when it talks about the beast of Leviathan, are they talking about feasting on Leviathan? Or Leviathan's hosting the feast?
Well, you can't tell yet, can
Okay,
you?
no.
All right, here's the third one. Listen to this. This is directly from the Talmud, from which all the other ones stem. Leviathan was among the sea monsters mentioned in Genesis 1:21. It says Tanin. Tanin is sea monsters. Plotting to destroy the world. Listen. Plotting to destroy the world, the monster was slain by the Lord, and its flesh was cut up and preserved as food for the righteous in the world to come.
What?
Now, in the Talmud, there's all kinds of stories you read like that, and you're like, just like that. What? It is the right picture. That's why it's in the Talmud. All the things that are in the Talmud, they sound so weird, many of them, but they're the right picture. So as we walk through the scriptures, you're going to see that this is absolutely the right picture. Now remember, it's metaphorical. It's all metaphorical. Judaism is a set of metaphors or pictures to teach us heavenly things. So when it says that, it doesn't literally mean chomping on alligator meat, but metaphorically, it absolutely does.
But
Yes.
we can also say that in Genesis 1, the creation was a pure creation. So therefore, we weren't at a position to where there was kosher and unkosher animals.
Okay, that's very deep, and I don't want to go into it, but I thank you.
That would defy the
No, please. It's going to get us off subject, and that's like maybe at the end of the teaching that would fit. But right now, I just want to establish basics right now.
Cool. That's a big rabbit trail not to chase.
But thank you very much. Rosh Hashanah, what happens? What happens at Rosh Hashanah?
Gathered up.
Shofar is blown.
Shofar is blown. We're gathered up in the resurrection. Where do we go?
To the header.
To the cheder. The cheder. Or what's another name for it?
The chamber, the spousal room.
Right. How do you say it in Hebrew?
Chuppah?
You got to say it loud so I can hear. Chuppah. Say it loud.
Chuppah.
I can't hear. Chuppah. So the bride goes up in the resurrection. We go into the cheder or the chuppah for how long?
7 days.
Or
7 years.
7 years.
7 years. Okay. And then at the end of the birth pangs, at the end of the 7 years, Sukkot comes. The Messiah returns to earth with the holy ones, with us, and it's total devastation. 5 days pass, and Sukkot comes. What happens then? So that's what we're going to look at.
So we return on Yom Kippur then?
That is correct. Okay, let's go to Matthew 25. We're going to go to the end of the story, and then I'm going to spend the whole teaching defining what you just read.
All right.
So that you can understand it. Because if you don't know the backstory, you don't know the story that's being told by Yeshua. It makes no sense.
Matthew 25?
Yes, sir. Matthew 25, 31 through 41. Okay, I'm gonna read, but I'm gonna stop and ask you questions. When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the holy ones with him, when is that?
That's Rosh Hashanah.
Nope. When is
On
that?
the day
That's
of the
the-
Lord.
When is that?
That's the day of the Lord.
Yeah, but when? Give me a
Yom
date.
Kippur.
Date.
Oh,
Sukkot.
Nope.
6,001.
6,001.
What date? What, like August 21st date?
Oh man. Okay, so it is Tishri 15.
It's
No.
going to be on Sukkot.
We just went through it. I just talked to you.
Oh, Yom Kippur.
On Rosh Hashanah, what happens?
We go up.
We go up in the resurrection.
But it's on
We're
Yom
there
Kippur.
for how long?
7 years.
7 years. At the end of the 7 years, we come back with
On Rosh
Yeshua.
Hashanah.
When?
Yom Kippur.
Yom Kippur. Read it again. When the Son of Man comes
10.
in his glory and all the holy ones with him. What's the date?
Tishri 10.
Yom Kippur.
Yom Kippur.
Yom Kippur.
And all the holy ones with him. Then he will sit on his glorious throne. So then, or sometime directly after that, he will sit on his throne. And all the Gentiles will be gathered. Now, one of the main themes of Sukkot is
The ingathering.
the ingathering. Oh, I can't remember in Hebrew.
Oh,
Uh,
Bikurim.
How do you say gather, ingather? Oh man, I just lost it. Anyway, it's one of the titles of Sukkot, the Feast of Ingathering. Hag Otsir. Hag HaOtzer. So an ingathering, Otsir, is one of the main themes of Sukkot. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate them one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. Let's go down to verse 40. The king will answer, "Truly I say to you, to the extent that you did it to one of these brothers of mine, the Jewish people, even the least of them, you did it to me." Then he will also say to those on his left, "Depart from me, accursed ones, into the eternal fire which has been prepared for Hasatan and his, not angels, his spirits."
Spirits?
Yeah. "For I was hungry and you gave me nothing," etc. And it talks about what they did wrong. Then in verse 46, "And these will go away into eternal makot, spankings, stripes, but the righteous into eternal life." So this is a Yom Kippur to Sukkot passage. This is about the judgment, and it's about the gathering of the nations for the judgment. So it's Yom Kippur when he comes, and then directly after that, we're into Sukkot. Are you with me?
No. Was the Messiah coming on Sukkot taught throughout the Old Testament?
Say that again.
Was the Messiah coming on Sukkot?
He doesn't come on
I'm sorry,
Sukkot.
on Yom Kippur. Was that taught throughout the Tanakh?
Yes, we read all those verses last week.
Okay.
We read them all.
So his audience would have made that connection.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
They would have understood what he was
Absolutely.
talking
They
about.
know exactly the dates of what he's saying.
Okay.
Absolutely. Two groups. He separates them into the people into two groups, yes?
Yes.
So there are two feasts. Just like there's a theater in heaven,
I agree with that.
Rosh Hashanah,
Yes.
and the wedding. In heaven, on earth, is the birth pangs. Simultaneously, there's two groups. Well, at the judgment, they're separated into two groups. So there's going to be two feasts. One is good, and one is really bad.
Oh, okay.
Right. They're feasting on Leviathan.
Right.
So the
That's the
wedding-
feast of Leviathan. So you're going to
So
see
they get to eat all the pig they want.
well, you're going to see a good feast and you're going to see a bad feast. But
The
remember,
birthdays, is that the feast of Leviathan?
the feast of Leviathan is on a specific day during the birth pangs,
Wow.
which I'm going to show you.
That's good.
I'm going to tell you exactly when it takes place.
That would be the birds of Revelation eating on the flesh of all the dead, right?
Okay, go.
Ooh. That's good.
Let's try to keep it in order. Don't steal my thunder, buddy.
Well,
You're right, but you got it. Let's try to take it in order so we can walk through it. All right, let's go to Judges 14. We're gonna look at just the basic thing that there's a 7-day marriage feast. That's what we're looking for. 7-day marriage feast, and then a feast. Listen to me again. There's a 7-day marriage feast, and then a feast. A 7-day marriage feast, and then a marriage feast. There's two feasts
Right.
at a wedding, not one. There's two. This is what I'm going to show you. Judges 14, verse 12. This is when Shimshon, Samson, the weakling, the little yeshiva bocher weakling with no shoulders, little wuss boy, he was.
You mean he wasn't the way
No,
they showed
he
the
was
movies?
not. Because it says in Hebrews, it's naming all the heroes of faith, and it says, we know about this one and this judge and this judge and this judge who was made strong out of weakness.
Oh.
Not out of normalcy, out of weakness. He was a yeshiva boy. He was a little Jewish boy.
Yeshiva
He wasn't a big,
Really?
strong guy. Yeah, he was only strong when the Lord came on him.
We kind of look like Joshua.
I thought you were going to say you look like me.
No, you're bigger than that.
Judges 14:12. Well, let's go back to verse 10. His father went down to the woman, and Shimshon made a feast there, for the young men customarily did this. Now, this is talking about the feast before the wedding, which is the betrothal feast.
Right.
So, for a wedding, there's really 3 feasts. Betrothal, the marriage feast, and then the marriage feast at the end, which I'll show you. All right, verse 12. Let me now propound a riddle to you, and if you tell it to me within the 7 days of the feast, this is the 7 days of the wedding feast, 7 days of the chuppah. I got to back up. At a Jewish wedding, it's not anything like what has been taught with even Messianic Judaism, because this myth has populated the body of Messiah about the beloved thief, and that the bridegroom goes away for 1 year and comes back and gets his bride. That is absolutely untrue. It's not substantiated anywhere in Judaism at all. But here's what happened. They went into a cheder and they had sex for 7 days. All the food was given to them. Anything they wanted was provided for them. They didn't come out for those 7 days. They just were in there. They'd come out if they wanted to and mingle with people and party and all that stuff.
They had the babe.
But while they're in that cheder, outside the cheder is the families, the 2 families, and they are feasting for those 7 days. So you really have 2 feasts going on. You have the 7-day feast, and then you're going to see when they come out, there's another feast with the bride and the bridegroom. So let's look at this 7-day feast. So he says to me, tell me this riddle within the 7 days of the feast. Go to verse 17. However, she wept before him 7 days while their feast lasted. Their feast. Whose feast?
The Shimshon's in.
No.
The families.
Right, the families. The families. She wept before him. Remember, they're in the cheder. They're alone. She wept before Shimshon 7 days while their feast lasted. And it came about on the seventh day that he told her, because she kept nagging him so much. So he finally told her. Okay. So now we have, it's very simple, but we could also look at Genesis about Jacob and Leah and Rachel that had the 7 days of the feast. So, it's just basics. A Jewish wedding lasts 7 days. That's what I was wanting to show you.
A lot of them still do that?
Yes. Not Americans, but in ancient cultures, yes, they still hold to that. Let's go to Luke 12.
God forbid we miss a day of work,
Say it again.
God forbid we miss a day of work.
Right.
Money.
Luke 12, verse 35. Be dressed and awake, and keep your lamps burning. And be like men who are waiting for their master when he returns from the wedding feast. Well, why would he return from a wedding feast?
Because he was in the Heder.
Right. He was in the Heder. And he's going to come out and be with the families. Did you see it?
Yeah.
Be dressed and ready. Keep your lamps lit. And be like men who are waiting for their master when he returns from the wedding feast, so that they may immediately open to him when he comes and knocks. So as soon as he shows up, come on in. Blessed are those slaves whom the master shall find awake when he comes. All right. Now this is talking about the coming of the Messiah, but it's also talking about the 7 days of the wedding. And at the end of the 7, he comes.
Okay.
So we've got 2 wedding feasts. We've got one for the families, and we got one for just the couple, the bride and the bridegroom.
And
right?
they both last 7 days?
They both. No, the one for the couple is when they come out.
Oh, okay.
It's on the 7th day, and then everybody parties together.
Okay.
So the literal wedding feast is not the 7-day party.
It's like Shemini Atzeret.
Yes, exactly right. It's
say?
like Shemini Atzeret. You have the 7 days of Sukkot, and what comes after it?
The last great day.
The festival, the great day of the feast.
The 8th day.
The 8th day.
with the family.
Right. So one more day with the family. So you have the 7 days of the feast going on, and then they come out from their Heder, and everybody parties together. That's the actual wedding feast. Got it?
Okay.
Now they knew this. They knew the culture. We don't. So it sounds very confusing. But to them, they knew exactly what was going on. Look in verse. Let's go to verse 37. Blessed are those slaves whom the master shall find woken up or awake when he comes. Truly I say to you that he will gird himself and have them recline, that's a feast, and will come up and wait on them. If they're reclining, why is he coming up? They're reclining. That means down.
Yeah.
They ate like this. They ate reclining. So then why does he have to come up to wait on them?
Because we're up there.
Exactly. That's the point. When he said this, Americans miss it. But when he said it, the Jews go, what? Oh, okay. We're going up to the wedding feast. Simple. This is a Sukkot doctrine. A big one. That the feast is in heaven. The wedding feast is in heaven. That's Sukkot doctrine. We already have the bride having gone up when?
The bride going up.
When did the bride go up?
Yom Teruah.
On Rosh Hashanah.
Yom Teruah, Rosh Hashanah. She's up in heaven until Yom Kippur. She comes back with the Messiah, sets up the kingdom, and then there's the wedding feast. So something has to happen to get people up for the wedding feast.
Right.
What has to happen? What has to happen?
The resurrection.
No. You didn't follow that. We went up, we came back down at Yom Kippur, and we have to go up for the wedding feast. So something has to happen to get us up.
That's the mountain that we were singing about.
Get up.
That's the mountain.
It's the mountain. Jerusalem will be raised up on her site. Everything else is going to be flattened, just flattened. And Jerusalem is going to be raised up on its site at Sukkot. And I'm going to show this to you.
Is that what Luke 12:37 is talking about? When he's waiting on them and he has to go up?
Yes,
Okay.
that's why I asked it.
Okay.
If they're reclining, why does he have to go up to wait on them? Because the banquet is up, it's high, it's on the mountain. The banquets in Sukkot doctrine take place in heaven, on the mountain. But it's not really heaven. But it's not really a mountain. It's all metaphorical. It's something high. So they say on the mountain, because you got to look up. So all the doctrines of the feast are all, you have to look up to see it. It's all about being raised high to have this feast. That's beautiful. Isn't that cool? Now Jerusalem there's two Jerusalems, just like there's two of everything else. There's two Jerusalems. There's one on earth, here. Look at that. There's Jerusalem. And here is Jerusalem, directly above it. This is Jerusalem Me'olah. Let's use that one. This is Jerusalem, Yerushalayim Me'olah.
It's blue.
Yeah. Look at that. There's Jerusalem. So this is Jerusalem Me'olah, which means Jerusalem high. And this is Jerusalem below. And they are directly opposite each other. So if you want to see this, what do you look at? You look at this. And you'll get this. That is the entire purpose of Judaism. To understand this. You look at this, you see this. Now, if there's a feast up here, that means there's going to be a feast here. Yes.
The letter